Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, we will be taking a trip to Canada, and I will be talking to one of the most legendary, most versatile, and most premier voiceover artists from Canada, and that is Susan Roman. Now, aside from the fact that she's been a voiceover artist for many, many years for animated movie classics like Heavy Metal and Rock and Rule, and then later doing, toy line cartoon shows like the Care Bears Family, Starcom, Garbage Pail Kids, etc. She was also Mindy in the 1977 horror classic David Cronenberg's Rabid. And I can't wait. It's going to be so fun. Oh, I can't wait. This is going to be really cool. Rest in peace, Jerry Van Dyke, the brother of Dick Van Dyke. He has passed away this week, and it's really sad. He played Luther on the classic sitcom Coach, and he was a great talent, and he will be sadly missed. So, rest in peace, Jerry Van Dyke. Nothing really else has happened. It's still the first 7 days of the year. Nothing really super exciting has happened in the world, but I'm sure that will change pretty soon. Hopefully, it will be good things. Other than that, Susan should be calling me in the next minute or so. Susan should be calling me. So, all we have to do is wait. Susan?
Hello, Tony.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Oh, I am just fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview.
Oh, my pleasure. This is going to be fun. I can maybe get a little bit of heat across the phone line because it's freezing here.
Mm-hmm.
And you're on the West Coast, so I'm hoping that it's a little warmer where you are.
Oh, not at all. It's pretty cold over here.
Oh, really? You're in Northern California?
Yeah, in Redding.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's freezing cold, about 30 degrees.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in the same boat. All right, we're both freezing.
Yeah. But
yeah.
it's such an honor because to me, you're one of the great voiceover artists. I mean, you have an impressive range that I just absolutely admire.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you.
Of course. I forgot that you played Mindy in David Cronenberg's Rabid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I forgot all about that.
They actually just, I believe it was in October or September or October of last year, they actually released a Blu-ray edition of Rabid, and I actually was very privileged to be able to do a little on-camera segment, discussing my memories of shooting that film, which was, of course, the first film that I had ever done in my life. And so it's, those things stay in your mind.
Yeah.
So that was great. And it's, again, it's one of those films that has a kind of a niche audience. And, of course, popular here in Canada because David Cronenberg is proudly Canadian. Well, I don't know if he's proudly Canadian. I'm sure he is, but we're very proud of him.
Mm-hmm.
Terrific director. So that was a wonderful, wonderful way to start because I was just out of theater school when I did that. So,
how did you get the role?
I auditioned. Just at that point, I was living in Montreal, and that's where the auditions were held, and away we went. So it was, as I said, it was my first time for me doing something that was, first of all, I had done television, but I hadn't done any film work at all. So it was quite an incredible way to learn the ropes, I must say. And of course, at that point, I didn't know, I mean, a horror film, it was a film, who cares, horror, drama, comedy, whatever. So So I remember when I went to see the film when it was released, I thought, wow, this is kind of spooky. And now, of course, when I look back on it, when I see the film now, as I said, a lot of it was shot, I think most of it was shot in Montreal. I see so many faces I remember from actors from that time period. It's just like old home week. It's like going to a class reunion or something.
Yeah.
So it's fantastic. So, pardon me, did you see Rabid? Did you?
Oh yeah, I'm a big horror guy, and yeah, I saw the movie years ago, and I love it.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
I'm a huge fan.
A niche. I mean, you have to be, I think, very, what is the word I want to say? You have to have your head in the right place to see a film like that. If you're going to, expecting something that's going to be a nice little easygoing Sunday afternoon, well, it's just not that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of Canadian cinema, especially in the horror genre, and it's funny how people forget David Cronenberg did horror films, especially the early ones he did with Ivan Reitman, and
right.
People wonder why Ghostbusters was such a frightening movie in certain places. It's because Ivan Reitman, started out in horror. He knew how to balance it with comedy.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there's a progression that took place, and there was a lot of skill and a lot of innovation involved.
Mm-hmm.
It really does my heart good to hear you say that you like and appreciate Canadian directors and producers. That's very, very nice to hear. Sometimes we kind of lose track here because we're completely overshadowed by this enormous country to the south of us. At times it feels as if we're overshadowed. So it's nice to know that that the good ones are appreciated south of the border. And you just say those two names, David Cronenberg and Ivan Reitman, and there's the two prime examples. So good, love it.
Yeah. What was it like working with Marilyn Chambers?
It was terrific. I have to say, I didn't really know anything about Marilyn Chambers at the time. Every single male I mentioned her name to apparently knew her very well. So
yeah.
You're working with who? You are working with Marilyn? It's like, hello, okay. Yes, I am working with Marilyn Chambers. So, and it was the hugest role in the world. It was definitely, her film. But she was very, very focused and intent on making this transition from the kind of work that she had been doing before to this sort of work.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I don't think there's, when you get into these genres, you're kind of splitting hairs every once in a while as to, what works where. But she was really, really focused.
Mm-hmm.
No prima donna things going on. Just a normal, friendly, all-American girl. That's how I would describe her. If she walked into the room, that's what you would think. Seriously. And so I enjoyed every minute of it. So it was kind of a first for her, being that she was involved in a film that was a different genre than she was used to. It was a first for me because it was my very first film, period.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that was a little bit of a bond that we had. Enjoyable, very enjoyable.
Well, her very first movie, she was this Barbra Streisand movie called The Owl and the Pussycat, where she's in bed with the comedian Robert Klein, and he said in a talk show interview that when they were filming that scene where they were in bed together, she turned to him and she said, "I'm only 18, but I think we should make this scene a reality tonight." And he looked to the audience and he said, "I helped her with her homework."
Oh, boy. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? I didn't know that she was in The Owl and the Pussycat. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, if you watch that movie, she's the girl in bed with him in it. Yeah.
Huh, isn't that something? I don't know that that's necessarily one of Barbra Streisand's favorite films. I mean, I could be speaking out of school, but
Yeah.
it was not something that was, sort of typical of the kind of in-depth movies that she was, I guess, later noted for.
Oh yeah, it was right after.
Remember that weird costume that she wore with the hands on the front? I don't know.
Yeah, it was right after Hello Dolly and what's that other one? Funny Girl.
Funny Girl, yeah, a kind of a strange transition there, but that's the saying. You're an actor and you get a part that you get offered a part that is intriguing to you, interesting, and you say, oh, this is going to be completely different. Then you're likely, especially when you're younger, you're likely to say, let's give this a try, because you want to stretch out and not be thought of in the same mold every single time you go to work. So
absolutely.
And that.
Do you get recognized often for Rabid?
Oh no, never. Never, not even in the day. And I have to tell you, too, that those hideous, horrible, bright pink glasses were actually my glasses. One of those moments when you buy a pair of glasses and you bring them home and you think, what was I thinking? Yeah. Oh, my God. But I wore the glasses to the audition and then, of course, took them off as soon as, it was an on-camera audition. So as soon as I got in front of the camera, I took the glasses off. But they saw the glasses. And when they cast me, they said, listen, we want you to wear those glasses. And I should have said, well, I've thrown them out. I'm sorry, I can't find them anywhere. But I still had them. So they have to be, not only the ugliest glasses in the world, but they were enormously gigantic. And when I took those glasses off, people on the set didn't even know who I was. Seriously.
Yeah.
Absolutely altered my appearance. I mean, to such an extent. So, no, I was never, ever once recognized for Rabid. Not once.
Wow. That's crazy. I mean, those glasses, they're instantly memorable,
Well, that's a very tactful way of putting it. Oh, God. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking.
It worked. It worked. You shouldn't put yourself down like that. It worked.
Oh, you're sweet. Thank you.
Well, thank you. So did you transist into the world of voiceover because you couldn't find acting work?
No, actually, it was quite the contrary. I was doing a lot of acting work, and I just simply became disenchanted. I don't know. I looked at myself. I was doing a show called an ABC co-production called Men, with Paul Rubinek, and I was casted in one episode. It was one of those typical things. I was in my horse trailer, what I used to call it, the horse trailer, at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, waiting to go on set. And I had been there since like 4 in the afternoon or whatever. And I was tired, but I was anxious. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and this was like a real pivotal moment. And I said to myself, do you really like doing this? And it was like one of those moments where, you can't even think that. I mean, this has been my whole life. Ever since I was a kiddo, I want to be an actress. 5 long, arduous years in theater school, and just working to be better, and to suddenly have that thought was very frightening. But the seed had been planted, and a couple of months later, my agent phoned and said, you have to get some new pictures done. It's time already. These pictures are like a year and a half old.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not going to do that. And she said, what? I said, I don't want to do on camera anymore. And, well, that didn't go over very well, but that's what happened. And so I said, I'm just going to stop for a while. I just have to kind of regroup. But I had already started doing voiceovers, like quite a little. I had started doing radio and television and narration, and most importantly, I'd started doing voice animation work, and I loved it. I loved it. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, well, I'll just continue on with my voice work, and then when a year or so, when I kind of get my head back on and get find my renewed enthusiasm, I'll go back and to on camera stuff, and I never did, because suddenly I had all this time to focus on real life and hobbies and things. I write all the time. I write. Mm-hmm. And so I had time for writing. I had time for my beloved garden. And so that's what, it was wonderful that being a voiceover actor gave me the opportunity to have a more well-rounded existence.
Right.
So maybe I wasn't temperamentally suited, although, I was temperamentally suited. I did a lot of work. And when I was working, when I was actually on the set, I loved it. I adored it. Mm-hmm. It's funny, I was just thinking tonight, maybe I'll just go and get, although it was like 400,000 years ago that my agent said we need new pictures. And I have a different agent now, but I'll just maybe get some pictures done and say, okay, I'll put my toe in the water. Like, let me just see, what would happen.
Right.
It's an interesting thought.
Well, you
ask one question and I talk for 8 hours. It's like being on a psychiatrist's couch here. I'm going to stop.
It's okay. And you did heavy metal, which is one of my favorites of all time.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my! Now, what makes it one of your favorites? What are its positive qualities that you really responded to?
Aside from the fact I love, Canadian cinema, I love the Second City guys, John Candy, Joe Flaherty, guys like that, because I'm a comedian and I was influenced by them, and I just love that they do voices for it, and I just love, the sex, the drugs, the rock and roll, all that stuff is cool to me.
Yeah.
I was 10 years old the first time I saw this. It was all chopped up on like TNT or TBS or something, and it wasn't until I was 13.
You saw that when you were 10?
I saw it all chopped up, yeah.
Oh, wow. Now, you know that film was not made for a 10-year-old audience, but so you're saying it was chopped up. They removed all the stuff that was X-rated? Is that what you mean? Or?
Yeah, all the dirty stuff was edited out.
Well, then how much was left? Like 7 minutes?
They did this really cool thing, actually. They would do things like, oh my God, I'm trying to think of an example. In the one where John Candy is Den,
Yeah.
There's like a close up of like a river fall mountain, and then it cuts away, and the princess, she's naked and what have you, and they're about to make love and everything, and then they get interrupted. Well, they did this thing where you see the river fall, and then it just quickly cuts away to their conversation, and then they show like a back shot of her backside.
Oh, out of
nowhere, and then they have the conversation, really, really short, and then you see them on the ground, but you don't see her naked, making love. It was this really cool thing. You have to watch it to kind of know what I'm talking about, though.
Wow. So I didn't know that. Was this like a legit recut of the film, or is this something that somebody just did kind of on the internet? I mean, legitimately scale it down like that?
Oh, no, this was on cable back in the 90s.
Cable. Okay, so this is... Okay, I gotcha.
I didn't see the real version of the movie until it finally got released on video when I was like 13.
Oh, okay. So did you watch it with, have a bunch of friends over and stay up late and do fun things, or how did you watch it?
Oh, I watched it with my dad.
With your dad?
Yeah.
Wow. Now, what did he think of it?
Oh, he thought it was hilarious.
The soundtrack is kind of amazing, isn't it?
Yep, I have it. I love it.
Yeah, that was. So just think, of the time that it was done, and see how far ahead of its time it was.
Mm-hmm.
It's mind-boggling, and the fact that when I love the fact that every segment is completely different.
Right.
A different style, a different energy, a different. It really was ahead of its time, and I don't think that when it was first released in theaters that it was Mr. Bombshell film event. I don't think so, because people just absolutely did not understand in that day and age. First of all, animation for adults. Are you crazy?
Yeah.
Thought animation is for children. Animation is Saturday morning. You park your kids in front of the TV, and they watch this stuff. So adults had, no clue. But I think that a lot of people of a certain age were very attracted by the soundtrack and the music that was involved.
Right.
That, I think, was a really good draw, and it actually got people. Because don't forget, it didn't go straight to video in those days after 3 weeks.
Right.
If you didn't see it when it came out, or at one of those, they used to have those theaters that would show certain films at midnight, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think it played in a lot of venues like that initially.
Right.
So, do you mind me asking how old you are?
I'm 34, but I'm an old soul.
You're an old soul.
Yeah.
No, it's if you first watched it for real when you were 13, you're obviously very, very familiar with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think each story has the same theme though, as of if you fuck somebody, they will fuck you or something.
Yeah, pretty basic. Basis to the whole thing, which is. And again, and there's also that irreverence. That's what I really like about it. It's so irreverent. And, geez.
Yeah.
The New York of the future. And the actor, the actor who played Harry.
Richard Romanus.
To the best of my knowledge, is not Canadian.
Nope.
No. Because I never saw him or worked with him.
Mm-hmm.
But he is absolutely terrific. That is one. Does he still do animation and voiceover? Is he still with us? Do you know?
I know that he's still alive. I don't know if he does voiceover, but he did a lot. He also, that same year, he was in Ralph Bakshi's Hey Good Lookin'.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because, that just stands up so well. That is just so... And you know what? I can understand why it would have been difficult to cast someone with that kind of a persona. We don't have that New York gritty. We just don't have it here, right?
Right.
Hello, we're not New York. So he was. That performance is just absolutely stunning. Every time right now actually, I'm in the process of putting together an animation demo, a demo reel that I should have done a million years ago. So I'm hunting down all sorts of material. And, you get, a little something on eBay, you find something here, you find something there. And in the process, I'm actually watching some of these scenes over and over and over again. And it suddenly occurred to me, I said to myself, oh, my God, that guy's good.
Yeah.
This is so solid. And I think, it's one of, not just because I was in it, but it's one of my favorite segments in the film because I love the blackness of it, and I love the image of New York in the future, and everything about it to me is really appealing.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just so perfect. So perfect. So wherever he is.
Yeah, I do an impression of his brother, Robert Romanus, who was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Really?
Yeah.
Do the impression. Let me hear.
It's kind of him, too. I don't know what happened. Suddenly I woke up in a good mood. I'm Harry Canyon. I drive a cab.
I woke up in a good mood. Well, there you go. That describes New York in the future.
Yeah. I do a lot of good impressions.
So you do stand-up? Is that what you said? Or
Yeah, I mean, when I get the chance, I do impressions, but I just mostly talk, on stage.
Right.
But I can do impressions, but they're mostly dated impressions of people that most people don't even remember.
Oh, that's because you're an old soul.
Yeah.
So do you perform at comedy stand-up at comedy clubs and
I try. Yeah, it's a lot more competitive now than it's ever been. It's hard to get booked in comedy clubs, but I'm trying. And I have, but yeah, it's really tough now.
They have sort of open mic venues where you are?
Yeah.
That's like always a good...
coffee houses and dive bars.
Right.
Yeah, I've been doing it 12 years. I love the performance part of it. I just hate the business part of it.
Yeah, well, spoken like a true actor.
Yep.
Nobody likes the business. It's really hard to get the two things melded in one brain, isn't it?
Yep, it sure is.
Now, see, that's why God invented agents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And colleagues actually get you your breaks more than you or your agent. You know that?
What does?
Your colleagues.
Oh, colleagues, yes. What
Yeah.
word of mouth reference like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, word of mouth is that's one of the great things now about having the internet in our lives is being able to just hear from normal people, regular folks, not these, fancy schmancy reviewers, or I did this, or I did that, and I'm this writer for this, or whatever, but just regular folks who say, you have to see this. You have to see this guy, you have to see this girl, you have to go and see this movie, this film, this project, whatever. Mm-hmm. That is really so reliable. And I love the idea that suddenly something can just, become so popular because people actually talk about the fact that they like it, right?
Yeah.
That is amazing. That's just amazing. So if everybody's out for their 15 minutes of fame. It's the same idea as, trying to post a video that's going to go viral. And you just
Mm-hmm.
never know. You just never know. But if people like it, and then somebody else likes it, and somebody else likes it, away you go. And so you can't fake it.
Yeah.
You can't fake liking something, can you? You can't say, oh, I kind of like. No, it has to be, oh, I really like this. You got to see this.
Mm-hmm.
No, I love that. That to me is the epitome of democracy.
Yep. Yeah, it's true.
There you go. So I have to tell you a little something about a little story about the animation of the Harry Canyon sequence.
Okay.
In heavy metal. I was, I believe it was at the wrap party, and all the actors were at the party, all the producers, but also in that day, wonderful day and age, the film, like any animated project, was animated by real human beings, and they were actually animators based here in Toronto, whole stable of them.
Right.
Really hardworking, amazingly talented people. There's no, computer generated this or that. This was done by humans.
Right.
So I was, wandering around. And of course, if you're a voiceover actor, people, did you do makeup or makeup? What, in an animated film? No, I did. So nobody knows who you are. So you just, chatting here, there, and everywhere. So I found myself chatting with someone who I said, what did you do on the film? And he said, I was one of the animators. Pardon me. And I said, I was one of the actors. And so we figured out he actually had animated my character. I mean, there were like 5,000 people in the room. How I ever found him, I don't know. And he said, it was such a long slog, but we had to work really, really long hours because we had this deadline. What film doesn't have a deadline? And, I'd find myself there at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're just drawing and drawing and drawing, and you're getting tired, and the coffee is just making you mental. And he said, I would get the giggles, and I thought, what if I make her breath just a little bit bigger in this sequence? And so, anyway, by the end of, if you watch the sequence from beginning to end, you will see that subtly her chest measurements increase incrementally from scene to scene until finally, it's really interesting if you watch it. I mean, it was done so subtly.
Yeah.
I said, weren't you afraid that they would find out that you had done this? And he said, I don't think anybody ever noticed. And he said everybody was very pleased with the way I drew her. And I said, well, I can understand why. I think he did an amazing job drawing that character. Mm-hmm. Amazing. My God. And then, so that's the other thing, is that you often run into people and they say, oh, it says here you did heavy metal. What did you do? And you say, the girl in the Harry Canyon sequence. And they go, oh, that was you? Which means, oh, my daydreams are shattered. It's kind of like, you hear someone on the phone and they have a voice like that. And so you get an image of what they look like.
Yeah.
And so, there I am 45 years later. Well, I'm not quite as gorgeous as I was maybe once, like for 5 minutes in my life. So it's kind of like a whoa moment. Whoa. But then all I have to do is, 1 or 2 of the lines, and they go, oh my God, that is you. I tell you, it's very, very fun. A funny business. Funny business.
Yeah, they did a really good job of making her naked body realistic. I mean, they show they show her vagina for a second. It looks real.
I have to tell you, Tommy, I never noticed that, but thank you for pointing it out. Isn't that funny? The things that a woman's going to notice and that a man is going to notice.
Yeah.
I have to have a chat with that animator again, I think.
Yeah.
As if I could ever find him. Oh my goodness.
If he's still alive, yes.
Oh well, I think we were the same age. He was a young. They wouldn't get an older person to animate that character. They had to get a young guy.
Yeah.
Can't you tell that it's drawn by a young guy? I mean, it's so aspirational.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
This is what the ideal woman would look like. Yeah, before she tries to kill you.
Were you familiar with the magazine before?
No, absolutely not.
I've never seen one. I'd like to see one.
Have you tried looking on eBay just to see if anybody's got any old, or if you go to a Comic-Con, I'm sure they have them there. Do you ever go to Comic-Con?
Oh yeah, I go to Comic-Cons. I go to horror cons. Yeah, I love them.
Yeah, it's really something. It's a huge biz now, isn't it? I mean,
it's gotten to be huge because I didn't start going to them until 2 years ago, and I'm hooked on them now.
It is amazing. If you look on Wikipedia, look at your favorite convention anywhere, maybe like the San Diego or New York or whatever, and they always have a list of when they started and how many people went through the gate. It is astonishing. Like they would start out with, 1,800 people went through the gate, say 20 years ago, and now, it's over 200,000 during a weekend. It's absolutely phenomenal. And you kind of wonder, where were all those people before? What did they do?
It's strange, yeah.
Yeah, when you think about it, I mean, there's the fans. There are so many fans of so many things everywhere. Mm-hmm. And the Comic-Cons, allow people to really, really indulge their fandom. So I think it's great.
Yeah.
It's not good if you have a problem with crowds. They're not good for that, that's for sure.
A lot of my friends I bring, they have problems with crowds. I don't. I just love to go, and I'm just focused on, meeting this celebrity that I grew up watching that's touched my life and buying merchandise and stuff, Yep.
And what I really like, too, is that there's this real cross-section of celebrities there. That they're meant to sort of cater to every different little interest group or niche, or that's what I like. And so somebody, can sit there and look through the the guest list and say, "Oh my, look who's here," and that can be their whole reason for going that weekend or that day on that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it's. Cause I've actually been attending quite a few Comic-Cons. We go out as a group for Sailor Moon.
Mm-hmm.
I played Sailor Jupiter and Sailor Moon, and I'm always astonished by the reaction that people have if they were really, really into something that was all vocally based, right? So obviously I'm talking about animation or anime or even if it was included in a live action film or situation. The fact that the voice sort of comes into your brain, especially when you're a kid, it's really important. And for some reason, children seem to latch on to the sound and all the qualities that a voice contains. And then when you talk in real life, and they, 20 years later, they come and they say, "Hi," and you go, "Hi, how's it going? Are you having fun?" And they hear the same voice that they listened to when they were 6.
Yeah.
And it just boggles. It's amazing. It really is amazing. So I thought to myself, because I didn't really watch a lot of cartoons when that's what they called them in the olden days.
Yep.
Cartoons when I was a kid, mostly because they were only on Saturday morning.
Right.
And I always had, activities that I was doing, baseball or skating or gymnastics or whatever. So I never really saw a lot of animated stuff when I was a kid. But there were 1 or 2 shows that I really, really liked. And I thought, think back. I would recognize those voices in a heartbeat, because you were such an integral part of what I was watching, of the character that was making my imagination go wild. And I would think, wow, just imagine 20 years later, you walk into some place and somebody starts talking and you go, I knew that voice. That voice was part of when I was a kid. And it's a really positive memory.
Right.
I think a lot of that is part of the attraction. And then you get the memories that you have with live action, television shows. You were a crazy Batman fan, and to hear, Batman and Robin speaking to you across the table before you, get their autograph is pretty amazing, come to think of it. And again, there was no outlet for that before Comic-Cons came along. So whoever thought this up was kind of genius, if you ask me.
Right. I've been so lucky. I've met some great ones that have truly appreciated my fandom, and I've gotten to become Facebook friends with them and stuff and interview them on here. It's amazing.
Who have you interviewed? Who was your favorite interview so far?
Oh, I get asked that a lot. I don't have a particular favorite, and I don't really know who was the best. But I have like certain favorite ones. I love the ones who have a sense of humor like mine, like a really like un-PC kind of sense of humor and stuff. And I've actually met, so many that I've interviewed on here. Oh my God, in Hollywood, God, women have dirty minds, I have to say.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, equal opportunities,
But as far as I've interviewed a lot of Canadian people, like Leslie Donaldson.
Oh, come on. Funniest guy on the planet.
No, that's Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, Leslie Donaldson.
Leslie Donaldson, yeah.
Oh my goodness! I just had like a total brain attack of nothingness there. Leslie Donaldson. Now is Leslie Donaldson a really cute girl? I mean, I'm just thinking back to somebody I used to work with.
Yeah, you did Special People with her.
What is she doing now? Is she still in the business?
She is, and she isn't. She's having her struggles, like everybody in the business, but she's doing really good.
She is the my memory of special people. Well, thank you for reminding me of, what I've done. Now I feel like I'm 95 years old. I confuse Leslie Donaldson with Leslie Nielsen. I don't remember that Leslie was in Special People. So, but I'll just take some ginkgo as soon as we get off the phone. She is a fantastic actress. Yeah. Absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Such a sweetheart. Oh, my God. Now, geez. So after we finished shooting Special People, never saw her one more time in my life, ever, which is such a shame. Maybe I saw her. I think I saw her at the opening of Special People at the party, and then I maybe one time would have run into her, but then it was just gone. Well, thank you for refreshing my memory.
Absolutely. I've interviewed her, Lisa Langlois, Lynn Griffin, Catherine Mary Stewart, who's a good friend of mine.
Wow. Wow, you got some very talented actresses on that list.
David Hubbard.
Oh. I've worked with David quite a few times. Excellent actor as well. Excellent.
I think everybody in Canada has worked with David. That guy has a lot of credits.
Yes, he does, and rightly so.
Yes, he's a funny guy.
Very funny.
Let's see, you did Rock and Rule.
I actually recorded Rock and Rule at about the same time that I recorded Heavy Metal. Rock and Rule went on for about 2 years. It was a very, very long record because there were changes that had to be made, and it would just sort of go on hiatus, and then it would come back again. And Heavy Metal, I recorded, I think it was about 45 minutes one Thursday morning. That was it. So very different projects in terms of my involvement. Of course, in Rock and Roll, I had a much larger role, but that was, again, another groundbreaking, amazing thing to be involved with. Wow. So can you imagine? I mean, I've never even heard of adult animation, and suddenly I'm in 2 adult animated films, and I'm thinking, this is really odd. This is either going to sink like a stone, or it's going to be really something amazing. And don't forget, too, this is all before anime.
Right.
And anime, as you know, was much of it was directed at adult audiences. I mean, in Japan, they were watching adult animation far longer than we've been watching it here. I mean, It's been sort of a culturally appropriate and loved thing to watch. So this was all news to me. I remember thinking, wow. And in fact, that I had to. They kept reminding me, don't call it a cartoon. It's not a cartoon. It's an animated feature film.
Yeah.
Yes, an animated feature film. Of course. I'm sorry. The dreaded cartoon word will not come out of my mouth one more time. But it is being animated, right? Yes, it is. But it's animated with an intention for an adult audience. Okay, cool. Because don't forget as well, nowadays, a lot of animation that gets done is already drawn. It's already a fait accompli. It's done. And all we do is go in and dub in the language, the English language, to something that's already been recorded in another language. But the animation is set. It's a complete deal.
Right.
In those days, you were the first part of the sequence. So you went in, as the actor, you went in to the studio and you recorded your part, and then it was animated. So the animators had your voice to use as inspiration. So it was really a situation where even though we never got to meet the animators, we were actually working together because they were using that voice as the guideline for how they were drawing the character. So it really meshed very nicely. I miss that. I miss doing it that way because you had so much more liberty as an actor. You had your own timing, you really put your own heart and soul into it because there were no restrictions. Whereas when you're dubbing something that's already been done, you have to watch those mouth flaps. And if the actor who's recorded it in another language speaks 45,000 times faster than you do, you're just going to have to get with the picture. So if you want to say the line, "Oh, really? I wanted to go too," if that's how you wanted to say it, but the mouth flaps are going, "Oh, really? I wanted to go too," it completely changes the reading of the line, right? It's completely different. So it's not yours anymore. It's you're trying to fit yourself into something that's already been established. And it is really difficult. And it's so funny. People think, "Oh, wow, if you do original animation, meaning that you were, part of the sequence before the animators, arrived to do their work, that must be really hard." It's not hard in comparison. It's not hard at all. But going into a studio and dubbing something that's already set in stone is really difficult to bring it alive. And you have to find that rhythm that is not yours. And you have to find that pace that is not yours. And I think that people who do a lot of dubbing don't get enough credit at all because it's by far more difficult than any form of voiceover known to man. Absolutely, bar none, the most difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, did you get to work with Paul Labatt?
Sometimes. Not as often as I would have liked. But again, that's because, as I said, it stretched out over a 2-year period. So I think that they basically got us into the studio whenever there was a spare moment. And you see, the thing is I know that often compared to a radio drama, but you have to be so aware of not overlapping lines when you're doing two actors, a two-hander, a scene together.
Right.
Your instinct is to overlap. Your instinct is to jump on the line. I mean, especially if you're trained as a theater actor. So if he's saying, "Are you coming? Are you coming with me?" You want to say, "Yeah," right on top of his line. But you have to actually leave about a second before you say your line so that they can cut all the dialogue beautifully and pristinely, and there's going to be no overlapping of breaths or sounds or whatever. So that in itself kind of cuts down that flow of what you might experience in a radio drama, where you're all standing in a studio, you all have your own microphones, and you're allowed to overlap and make it a little bit more naturalistic. Whereas with animation, they're going to, they'll cut it together so that it's really nice and tight, and it might even overlap, but they have to do that technically. You can't do that as the actor. Right. So actually, it doesn't make that much of a difference having the other actor in the room with you, if that makes any sense, because you've always got these unnatural pauses that you have to leave between all your lines of dialogue. So I honestly think that we might have worked together, twice, 3 times. Mm-hmm. And then there was the whole thing about, the replacement thing. I think that they did a test audience or something, and I don't know what exactly happened, but there were 2 actors involved in that film playing the same part. And I believe now, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think that most releases of the film, don't they show both versions? Am I right?
They may have. I don't know. I've only seen one version.
Okay. So you knew that there were 2 actors who played that part of. I forget the other. Gosh, I should look that up.
I actually didn't.
The 2 actors played that part.
I actually didn't know that.
Okay. I'll I'll email you whatever information I can possibly get. I should have just done a rock and roll IMDb.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a funny thing when that happens. Sometimes people get. Yeah, it's funny. I don't even know that they're going to. They don't even say it on IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it used to. Greg Salata.
Greg Salato.
Paul Matt both played that part.
Huh. Wow.
There you go. Another little, pardon me, interesting tidbit.
Wow.
Yeah, funny, eh?
That is.
Oh, I tell you, that's like one of the most disappointing things in the world. You go and see a film that you were a part of, and you say, this actually never happened to me, but I can imagine you would say, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me. Actually, that did happen to me once. I was doing a film that was a French-English co-production called Au nom de tous les miens. And we did it in French and we did it in English. And we were told, well, you just have to have a passable knowledge of French, which I do and did. And then the French stuff is just going to be dubbed in. But your mouth has to be moving in the right direction, right? So that the French actress can dub you. Okay, perfect. So I went to actually, I think it was on TV. Yeah, that was a made-for-television thing. So, there I am with all my friends curled up to watch the show. It comes on, and there I am. That's me. I mean, I'm watching it in English, not in French. Mm-hmm. And I start talking, and so they've dubbed me too. They dubbed my English voice. It was the most, and I thought, I'm a voiceover performer. What's going on here? It's the oddest thing. Now, I don't know if it was because the sound man just was having a horrible time during the entire shoot. I don't know. But we were all dubbed. Everybody in English was also dubbed in English with other actors. So it was the oddest thing to see somebody else's voice coming out of your face.
Yeah.
It is beyond bizarre. Because you say, wait a second. Come on. If you're going to dub it, let me dub my own. But anyway, who knows?
Yeah.
Some of these things happen and you just go, okay, it's called I have no control over anything.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, but that's kind of true of all life, isn't it?
Yes. You also did the Garbage Pail Kids cartoon.
I didn't do very many episodes of that. That was not one of my biggies. What happens on IMDb is that they kind of don't make enough distinction between shows that you did were in 142 episodes as one character versus you played, you did some guest roles, maybe 3 or 4 guest roles on another project. So it looks as if, you were the star of Garbage Pail Kids or whatever. And so that was definitely one of those situations where I would just go in and they would say, okay, we need somebody to do this kind of a character. And very often you go in and do 2 or 3 characters. Mm-hmm. So that actually was a lot of fun doing stuff like that. But you have to remember, sometimes people go, don't you remember, when you are, you go into a studio, you're given a script that has, 7 lines on it, if that.
Right.
You're in and out of there in 15 minutes, and then you go off and you just live your life. So 25 years later, and you do that a lot. I did that a lot. So 25 years later, I have very little recollection of some of the things that I did, unless I was part of an ongoing series where I would go in, week after week after week and play the same character. Mm-hmm. So that's where I think they could, kind of make a few little distinctions, differentiations on IMDb in the way they list, certain credits.
Yeah.
And the credits are sometimes wrong. It's not infallible. I mean, I've looked at some of the stuff that I'm credited with on IMDb, and I think, really? I go and I listen, and I think, that's not me. Why would they give me that credit? I don't get it. So, and certain websites have my name attributed to certain performances, and I've contacted the website and said, by the way, you know, in terms of fairness, I think that the person who did this role should be credited, not me, because that's not me.
Mm-hmm.
To this voice, if you think that's my voice, then you need you definitely have your hearing checked, because that's not me. And then, but they don't do it. They just leave the credit up there incorrectly. So it gets kind of frustrating sometimes.
Yeah.
But oh well, what are you going to do?
Yeah. My brother collected Garbage Pail Kids cards when I was growing up, and we used to watch that horrible movie they made of it.
Oh yeah.
I remember about 7-8 years ago, a friend of mine on Facebook was tagging us in like uploaded pictures of Garbage Pail Kids cards, you know, because they had our names on it, you know. I was upset Tommy, which is a perfect one, because on my bad day I can be very high strung.
Oh gee, I think I got that. You know, and you have to be that way if you're going to be, you know, a comic.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to be part and parcel of it, right? Even if it's disguised, and you stand up there looking as, you know, cool as a cucumber and really laid back. Inside, there's a hot wire, right?
Absolutely.
We need the hot wires, don't we?
Yeah.
Because the hot wires make us laugh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you did Babar.
Again, that was just incidentals. On meaning that I would go in every once in a while and do a couple of parts in one episode, but that was not one of my my long-term ones.
Yeah, I watched it every morning on HBO when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, no, it's a great series.
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow! Yeah, no, Babar's, and again, all these things you're mentioning. Well, some of them were done here in Toronto. It's amazing how many good things, especially animation-based, were done in Toronto. Did you see? Here's a show that I really loved that I don't think got very wide exposure in the U.S. was The Adventures of Tintin.
Oh yeah, I remember Tintin.
So that aired in the U.S.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember Tintin.
That's a niche one, right? I mean, again, it's
I think so. Yeah.
Kind of a different feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I played the little dog Snowy. I just barked for 43 episodes. It was absolutely wonderful. No, really. I mean, sometimes you have to pinch yourself. You say, "Oh my God, I'm driving home and I just, barked for 35 minutes, and it was great. It was fun. I mean, you can get rid of a lot of, pent up tension and whatever by barking. I mean, it's just one of those things. I guess it's because it's just so explosive. And then you walk out of there and you go, my goodness, somebody actually paid me to do that.
Yeah.
What kind of wonderful world is this? So, yeah, that was amazing. Amazing.
And you also acted in a revival episode of The Twilight Zone.
Now that's true. That's one of the last things I ever did on camera, for sure.
What was it like working with David Naughton?
Again, boy, that was a really quick shoot. I don't know if they were on a budget or a time constraint, but I think that entire show was literally shot before lunch. I'm not kidding you. And don't forget, I mean, let me rephrase that. He is the entire show. So all my scenes were literally shot before lunch. So I didn't have very much of a chance to get to know him or talk with him. It was just go. Okay, good. Okay, that's great. Let's go on to the next one. But he did a good job. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So again, talk about foreshadowing the future, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. This is like before reality television, way
Yeah.
before. And boy, some of those Twilight Zone writers just were really tapping into the future, weren't they? In an amazing way.
Absolutely.
You would watch it at the time and you'd think, oh, that's really bizarre.
Yeah.
Most of it is, kind of come true in some form or another.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually met David 2 years ago at a convention, and he was very nice. He told me a really funny story about a really obscure movie that he did that he was surprised that I knew because, like, no fans ever mentioned it to him.
Which was?
It was called Wild Cactus.
Oh, yeah. Was it good, or was it ho-hum, or?
It's one of those, like, late night erotica movies on Skinamax.
Oh yeah, okay. I've never actually seen a late night erotica movie on Skinamax. We probably don't even get Skinamax in this country. So.
Well, Cinemax. Well, they call it Skinamax. Late at night.
Right. Was he happy that you brought that up?
Yeah, just
because there are certain things you'd rather forget.
Well, he gets asked a lot about American Werewolf in London and the Dr. Pepper commercials and all that stuff. But I got to, what I usually do is when I meet a celebrity at a convention, I bring up their most obscure project that they're really surprised that somebody would know,
Right.
And that's how I win them over, basically.
Right. Oh, yeah, no, that is.
And it didn't happen intentionally. It just came out of thin air, and I started doing it more often. Good
idea. That's a good idea. Because it makes, obviously, you've done some research, you've done your homework, and you've obviously, if you can talk about it intelligently, you've seen some of these things. So that's always neat. Because, as an actor, you always think nobody's ever going to watch whatever I'm doing, whatever we're involved in. Oh,
yeah.
Just hope. Not everything is Oscar worthy, and you just do it and hope for the best. And then some things just fade away into obscurity. So when somebody mentions something, it's a nice little tickle. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It's, as I say, something you'd really rather forget. We've all done stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I'm a movie lover. I grew up watching everything you could possibly imagine, like I said, when I was a kid, my dad and I, when my mom was not home, we'd watch R-rated movies.
Wow. Because your mom wouldn't have approved, or?
Yeah, she would have been pretty upset.
Mm-hmm. But that, I don't know. One man's R-rated is another man's X-rated is another man's PG, right? It's really hard.
Right.
To know what is acceptable for every individual teenager or child or whatever. I guess, it's a judgment call. And it obviously hasn't affected you negatively. You're fine.
Yeah, for the most part.
There you go.
Yeah, I love movies, love comedy, and just a couple of years ago I had a car accident, and I've been pursuing the business more since it, because I've been given a second chance.
So it was a serious car accident.
Yeah, I was in a coma for 30 days.
Oh my goodness!
Mm-hmm.
Oh geez! And how did it feel when you first opened your eyes and woke up and saw the world?
Well, I had lots of anesthesia on me, and apparently the day I can remember waking up is actually the third day that I had been awake. I couldn't remember the first couple, but the third day I could remember, and I just remember going, where am I? What happened? I don't know what happened. It was just.
Oh God!
It was crazy.
And how long did it take before you were up and at 'em?
I got out of the hospital about 5 months later, the day before my birthday. And I had woke. I'm sorry.
5 months.
Yeah, and I had woken up on my mom's birthday, ironically enough.
Oh, isn't that something?
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, think of that.
Mm-hmm.
She must have felt. You know, it's like there are no coincidences, right?
No.
Come on. My goodness.
Everything happens for a reason.
Everything happens for a reason. Now, listen, Tommy. I don't know if you're on a different time zone there, but one of my favorite shows of all time, of every year, the Gold Globes, are starting.
Oh, yes.
So, what do you think?
I think we have done pretty good with this interview.
I think so. I think that all I remember is just babbling on. So maybe it's time for me to stop babbling.
Oh, I love a guest who's forthcoming, because I've had a couple of them, mostly men. Like, all the women I've interviewed have been very forthcoming, you know, but a lot of the men, they just give me very short answers, and I don't even know why they even agree to do the interview, you know?
Oh, no, that's no good. It's got to be a two-way street. I mean, you have to talk with each other, right?
Right. But, no, you've been terrific, I have to say.
Oh, thank you.
You are a very sweet lady.
Oh, I appreciate that. And you're a very sweet young man.
Oh, thank you so much.
Could be my son. But let's not go there. Listen, if you want to have another babble in the next couple of months, just let me know. It's been terrific talking with you. I like the fact that you've done your homework and that you have a real, obvious enthusiasm for this business, and that makes all the difference.
Oh, if we can if we can connect on Facebook, that would be great.
Terrific. That's perfect. So just I'm on there. Just give me a holler and we'll be friends. Okay?
Awesome. That would be great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you, Tommy. Have a good night.
You too, and enjoy the Golden Globes.
I will. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. Susan Roman. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Susan. I truly appreciate you taking the time to do this interview on Golden Globes night. If you like this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and friend me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, join my comedian page on Facebook. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Later, dudes.